Morning light spilled across the kitchen floor as Maya tied her hair into a neat bun. She liked the feeling of order. She liked the way each small step, combing, pinning, smoothing, made her feel ready. Her mother watched from the table, a warm mug in her hands, and smiled without saying much. Her little brother was at the counter with a cereal bowl, swinging his legs and making soft drum sounds with his spoon. On the chair, Maya's dance bag was zipped and tidy. Tights, point shoes, warm-up sweater, rosin, a water bottle, and a small music box charm her grandmother once gave her. The charm was gentle and simple, with tiny stars on the lid. She carried it for luck, not because she was superstitious, but because the soft weight in her bag made her feel calm. They left early to avoid traffic. The streets were quiet and pale. In the car, her mother kept the radio low. The announcer talked about the weekend and the weather, and then a soft song began. Maya stretched her ankles and wiggled her toes, feeling the familiar nerves. The nerves were not loud, but they were there, knocking lightly. She whispered her routine steps in order. Enter, breathe, arabesque, turn, soft landing, arms like water, exit. She pictured herself doing each move without rush. "You prepared well," her mother said, eyes on the road. "You know your body. You know your music." Maya nodded once. She did not want to speak too much and spill her focus. Her little brother pointed out a street mural of a dancer with bright ribbons. "That's you," he said. "You're better," she teased back, and he grinned and went back to his cereal prize. The competition venue stood tall with big windows that reflected the sky. Banners hung near the entrance, each with a different dance school name and color. Inside, there were tables for check-in, and a friendly volunteer placed a lanyard around Maya's neck. Her number was clear on a white card. She held it for a second, then gave a small nod. The lobby smelled like coffee, floor polish, and the faint pine scent from a holiday display that had not yet been taken down. The dressing rooms were full of the quiet rustle of costumes, the small click of hairpins, and the soft whisper of parents giving last-minute reminders. Coaches moved with purpose, checking lists, counting beats under their breath. Maya found her spot at the end of a long counter with mirrors. She placed her bag on the floor and set her water bottle where she could see it. Her reflection looked back at her. Focused eyes, steady mouth, tidy bun. She pulled on her warm-up sweater and began light stretches. Her coach, Lena, stopped by, with a gentle tap on her shoulder. "Feet look strong," Lena said. "Breathe low and slow. Dance the music, not the steps." Maya loved that line. It always softened the hard edges in her mind. She nodded and stood in first position, feeling her weight spread through the balls of her feet. The room around her made soft sounds, a zipper, a laugh, a clear spray from a small bottle of setting mist. It was all familiar, like a song she had heard since she was little. They walked together to the side stage before her time. The stage. Crew moved calmly, rolling and lifting with care. The last dancer before her finished, and there was quick applause. As the curtain breathed in and out, stage lights shifted to a pale gold. Maya stood at her mark and let her breath fall into a slow rhythm. Someone cleared their throat. Someone else whispered, "Good luck," and the floor under her feet felt like a quiet shore. Then the music began. She did not rush. She did not slow. She did not think about the audience or the judges. She thought about the way the melody rose and fell. She let the melody tell her what to do. She turned, placed, lifted, and floated, as if the air itself agreed with her choices. When she ended, the notes hung for a heartbeat, then faded. The applause was warm. She lowered her arms and let the moment pass through her like a breeze. Afterward, back in the wings, Lena gave her a brief smile. "That was yours," she said. "You lived in it." Maya felt the small lift of pride she allowed herself. She took a sip of water, and thanked the stage manager. Then she told her coach she would step out for a minute to get some fresh air. Lena nodded. 2 minutes, she said, tapping her watch in a friendly way. Then come back to cool down. Maya slipped on her warm-up jacket, tucked her lanyard inside so it would not flap, and walked toward the lobby. The lobby was cooler, with a soft draft from the slow-opening doors. A vendor cart near the window sold water and granola bars. The person behind the cart said, "Nice job in there," without knowing if she had done well or not, just being kind. Maya smiled and bought a bottle, then moved toward the glass. Outside, the late morning sky was light and bright. Cars came and went. Parents held garment bags high to keep them from brushing the ground. A small group of dancers in warm-up pants practiced counts under their breath. Maya stood close to the glass and put her hand against it lightly, as if she could touch the day beyond it and take some of its quiet into herself. She checked her phone. A few messages from friends blinked in. "How'd it go?" "You crushed it? Send video later." She typed a short answer to one friend. "I felt calm." She put the phone back away. She did not want to fall into long replies and lose her simple mood. A gentle chime from the lobby speakers announced the start times for the next group. A volunteer passed by with a clipboard and waved. Maya waved back. Then she took another sip of water and turned to walk along the hallway that curved toward a side door where the air felt fresher. She did not go far. She moved like someone who knows she will return soon. She watched how the light fell across a patch of floor near a potted plant. She noticed a small poster about a local art show with a child's drawing of a river and a bridge. It made her think of sketching. It made her think of the tiny music box charm in her bag and how it played a quiet tune when she opened it at home in the evening. She thought, almost idly, that she might sketch later to let the day settle. Back in the dressing room, time kept ticking. Lena glanced at the door and checked the clock. 2 minutes had become 5. 5 had become 8. The room moved on with its own rhythm. Another dancer pinned her hair. A mother tied a sash. A girl hummed her music. Lena walked to the hallway, looked left and right, and expected to see Maya coming around the corner tying her warm-up sweater. She did not see her. She went back and told herself not to worry. She probably saw someone she knows, Lena thought. She'll be right back. Maya's mother, meanwhile, packed away a small snack and checked the program booklet. She liked knowing where everything was. She liked order, too. She had watched the performance from the audience and kept her breath low just like she told her daughter to do. Now she was happy to give a thumbs up and a little hug when Maya returned. Only Maya had not returned yet. The mother met Lena at the door of the dressing room, and both tried to smile. It was a calm smile, gentle, not forced. "She stepped out for air," Lena said, "just a minute ago." The mother nodded. "She does that sometimes. She'll be back." 10 minutes passed. 11 went by. The mother walked to the lobby, expecting to see her daughter near the window or the vendor cart. She asked the cart person, who said, "She bought water. She looked happy." The mother thanked them and pushed her phone's call button. The call rang and rang. It was not a scary sound, it was just long. She tried again. Then she sent a light message. "We're by the dressing room. Come back when ready." She added a small heart and a star. She did not want to add any weight to the text. She wanted to keep the mood soft. Announcements came over the speaker system for the next age group. Dancers moved in clusters like schools of fish. The mother stood where she could see most of the lobby. She asked a volunteer with a clipboard if they had seen a dancer in a warm-up jacket, brown eyes, neat bun, carrying water. The volunteer thought, then pointed toward the inner lobby near a short hallway that led to the parking area. "I think she went that way," they said, then paused. "But I'm not sure." The mother thanked them and walked there. The door to the parking lot opened and closed gently, to let people in and out. She looked through the glass and scanned the rows of cars. She did not see Maya. A breeze came in when the door opened, carrying the smell of coffee and outdoor air. Back by the stage, Lena checked the time again and went to find the venue manager. The manager had a radio and a kind face. He had a way of moving that said he was used to calming small storms. Lena explained the situation. "She stepped out for air. She should be back." The manager nodded once, clicked the radio button, and spoke in a calm tone. "Quick check, please. Look for a dancer, warm-up jacket, lanyard tucked inside. If anyone has seen her, let me know." His voice was like a hand smoothing a wrinkle from a cloth, steady and not sharp. Security staff. Near the entrance, watched the flow of people. One staff member thought they saw a girl in a warm-up jacket walk toward the lobby earlier, but they did not see where she went after that. The manager asked if they could check the simple camera feed that looked over the lobby and the main doorway. They did so with care. The screen showed Maya walking toward the lobby with her water. It showed her pausing near the window. It showed her continuing along the curved hallway. That was all. There was no sign of distress, no crowd, no rush, just a young dancer moving like she had time and air. The mother returned to the dressing room and found her son sitting with his coloring book. She did not want him to worry. She kept her voice soft and her smile. The first call went out with calm, clear words. The venue manager stood at the information desk and repeated the message he had prepared with care. If anyone had seen Maya after her performance, please come forward. He kept his tone soft and steady. He did not want to alarm parents or dancers. He wanted focus, not fear. A few people came to the desk right away. One was the vendor from the lobby cart. "She bought water," the vendor said. She smiled. She looked calm. She walked along the curved hallway. A volunteer with a clipboard said she had seen Maya glance at a poster near a potted plant. A stagehand said he noticed her pass by the lobby window and keep going, as if she wanted fresh air. Each detail was small. Each detail mattered. Lena and the mother returned to the dressing room to check Maya's things. The bag was still under the counter where she had left it. The zipper was closed. The mother rested her hand on the bag for a second, then opened it with gentle fingers. Inside were her tights, the warm-up sweater, rosin, and a folded towel. The main pair of point shoes, the pair she had worn on stage, were not there because she had been wearing them for her routine. In a side compartment, they found a single spare shoe, but not the other one. The tiny inner pocket where she usually kept her small charm was empty. The mother closed her eyes for a breath. She remembered the charm, a simple music box lid with tiny stars. She had seen Maya place it in the bag that morning. Maybe Maya moved it to her jacket pocket. Maybe she wanted to carry it with her for comfort. That thought felt right. The venue manager called the local non-emergency number, explained the situation, and asked for guidance. The officer on the phone listened carefully. "We'll send someone to take a report," he said. "In the meantime, please keep doing what you're doing. Check bathrooms, stairwells, practice studios, and outdoor benches. Ask calmly, keep notes." His voice matched the manager's tone, steady and respectful. Soon, 2 officers arrived. Their names were on. Their badges and their eyes were kind. They listened to the mother. They listened to Lena. They reviewed the short lobby camera clip that showed Maya walking near the window with her water, then moving down the curved hallway. There was no sign of hurry or worry. The officers asked simple questions. What was she wearing over her costume? Did she have her phone? Was she upset earlier? The coach said, "She was focused and calm. She danced with ease. She told me she needed a breath of air." The mother said, "She sometimes steps away for quiet, usually just a few minutes." The officers nodded and took notes. Word moved through the space not as rumor, but as gentle purpose. Dancers who had finished their routines offered to check stairwells. Parents made pairs and quietly walked through the parking area. Volunteers checked the small classrooms. Someone went to the bookstore corner and spoke with the person at the counter. Another volunteer visited the cafe line and asked if anyone had seen a young dancer with a lanyard tucked inside her jacket. A few people thought they had, but they were not sure of the time. The officers arranged a simple search pattern with maps printed from a small office printer. They used highlighters to mark the hallways and exits. "We'll trace these routes first," one officer said. "Then we'll expand outward." The mother texted Maya again, then called. The phone rang. It did not connect. The officer wrote that down. He asked the mother if she wanted to try one more time on speaker, and she did. The ringtone went on longer this time, like a slow bell. The mother ended the call gently and put the phone in her pocket. She looked at the officer and said, "She knows we are here. She knows we will wait." The officer nodded. By late afternoon, the officers had spoken with staff at the bus stop across the street and with 2 shop owners on the block. The bus driver who worked the midday route said he had not noticed a dancer in costume, but he had been focused on the traffic. The shop owner near the old bus station said a few dance families stepped in for snacks and water that day. He did not recall Maya, but he saved a flyer when the volunteers brought them around. Already the flyers were simple and clear, a smiling photo of Maya, her name, the date, and a phone number. The design used soft colors and large letters. "Have you seen her?" the words asked, without pressure. Evening arrived. The manager set a small table in the lobby with a sign-in sheet for anyone with information and a bowl of pens. A volunteer placed a box of granola bars there, too. "For energy," she said, and her eyes were kind. The mother and Lena stood together and took turns eating a little, drinking water, and walking the routes again. People continued to perform their routines on stage. The music rose and fell like breath. Life in the building moved on, but the circle of care around Maya did not loosen. That night, the officers suggested filing an official missing person report to widen the search. The mother agreed. The report used clear details and respectful language. The officers asked for a recent photo, and Lena had one on her phone from last week's rehearsal. They printed it for the file. The officers also asked about any places Maya liked to visit when she needed quiet. The mother listed a few. The small riverside path with the footbridge, the community garden with the old greenhouse, the library, nook with big windows. The officers wrote those down and said teams would check those areas. In the days that followed, the community showed up in dozens of small ways. Some people organized digital posts with gentle words and a contact number. Others created a map of the city with colored dots for places checked. A teacher from Maya's school brought index cards and tape so people could leave notes. Checked North Park 2-3 p.m. Asked cafe on 7th, no info. Talked to bus stop attendant. The notes were tidy and helpful. No one pushed. Wild ideas. Everyone kept to simple facts and kind hopes. Lena met with the dancers at the studio. She talked about care, patience, and steady breathing. She made a quiet space at the end of class where students could sit and think of Maya, and then they would go back to practicing. Because rhythm helps the heart. Some students made paper cranes and wrote small wishes on the wings. They placed them in a clear jar near the front desk. The jar slowly filled with tiny folded birds that looked like gentle promises. At home, the mother kept a routine. She woke early, made tea, and checked messages. She returned calls from people who wanted to help. She worked with volunteers to set search times so everyone knew where to go without overlap. She wrote everything in a simple notebook, dates, places, names, and small details that might later connect. She posted one important note on the fridge: "Hold steady." It was not a slogan. It was a practice. Weeks passed. The search widened. Officers visited the riverside path with its slender footbridge. They spoke with a gardener at the community greenhouse. They checked waiting areas near the old bus station. Many people remembered seeing dancers in warm-up jackets around the competition week, but no one could say for sure if they had seen Maya outdoors after the event. The small details kept coming, and the team saved them all, like shells collected, along a beach. A pattern did not yet appear, but care itself was a pattern. One afternoon, a city sanitation worker heard about the search through a friend and called the tip line. He said he had not seen a person, but weeks earlier, on a different route, he thought he noticed a piece of fabric with a quiet shimmer, like a costume ribbon. He said he did not keep it because it was tangled with other items, and he did not know what it was then. He just wanted to share the memory in case it added a tiny thread to the larger cloth. The team thanked him warmly. They did not treat the detail as proof. They treated it as kindness. The officer added the note to the log and marked the location on the map. The family set up a calm gathering one weekend at the community center. It was not a rally. It was a circle. People sat in folding chairs and shared short memories of Maya, how she taught a neighbor's little girl to point her toes gently, how she once helped carry an old box for a shop owner, how she loved drawing bridges and trees in her sketchbook. Someone played a soft song on a small speaker. A counselor from the community garden spoke briefly about staying grounded, eating regular meals, and resting when possible. The mother thanked everyone. Her words were simple. We are grateful. We keep looking. We keep steady. In quieter moments, the mother thought about the missing spare shoe. It was such a small thing, and yet it sat in her mind like a question. Did Maya take it with her for some reason? Did she put it in her jacket? Was there a practical reason? That made sense only to her. The coach said that dancers sometimes hold a single shoe to feel the curve and remember their balance. The mother turned that over in her thoughts and let it rest. She chose not to lean toward worry. She leaned toward patience. As the second month began, the flyers changed colors for freshness. The team added a gentle line at the bottom. Maya, we are here. The local paper ran a short, respectful story about the ongoing search and the kindness of volunteers. Someone built a simple website with a timeline and a contact form. Each update was careful and brief. The site was not a place for noise. It was a place to keep facts in order. People from other neighborhoods began to send small tips, a note about a girl teaching stretches at a youth center, a mention of a dancer, seen reading by a window at the library, a comment about a warm-up jacket with a familiar school patch. The team checked each one without. The sorting station began its day like any other. A light machine hummed, belts moved at a steady pace, and people in bright vests checked items with practiced eyes. A worker named Farid liked to notice small things others might miss. A handwritten note, an old photo tucked in a book, a ribbon tied in a careful bow. He believed that tiny details sometimes carried big meaning. That morning, a soft fabric bag slid onto his table. It was not heavy. It looked clean and neatly tied, as if someone had placed things inside with care. Farid untied the simple knot and looked in. On top sat a lanyard from a dance event. The date matched last season. He remembered that week because the city felt busy and full of visitors. Under the lanyard lay thin practice ribbons, a worn sweater, with a light scent of rose soap and, wrapped in tissue, a small round lid with tiny stars. It looked like part of a music box. When Farid turned it over, he saw an engraving inside. The words were short and gentle. Leap, Maya. He paused. Farid had read a short story in the local paper months earlier about a dancer named Maya whom people were still looking for. Many workers had seen the flyers, too. He did not jump to conclusions. Instead, he called his supervisor with a calm voice. I found something that might help a family, he said. Can you come take a look? The supervisor arrived and listened. He nodded and said, We will do this the right way. He took photos of the items where they lay, and then he placed each piece into a clear bag with a label. He called the contact number on a flyer they kept on the bulletin board. The number connected to the officer who managed updates for the family. The officer arrived. He moved respectfully, greeting each person by name. He asked Fareed to walk through the find step by step. "This bag came from which route?" the officer asked. Fareed and the supervisor checked the morning log. The route tag on the bin said it had been collected from the donation cages behind the old bus station. 2 days earlier. Weather had delayed sorting, so the bag reached Fareed's table only now. The officer wrote this in a neat notebook and took careful photos. At home, the mother was writing in her own notebook when the officer called. She listened to his steady voice. He said, "We found a small set of items at the sorting station. There is a lanyard from the competition week, practice ribbons, a sweater, and a round lid engraved Leap Maya. We would like you to come see them with us." She closed her notebook softly and said, "Thank you. We will come." They drove to the station with simple hearts. The air outside was clear and a little cool. Inside, the worker team had made a clean space on a table and set the clear bags in a row. The mother stood with her hands together, breathing low. Lena came too, as did the venue manager who had supported them since the first day. The officer lifted the first bag and held it gently. "This is the lanyard," he said. The mother looked at it and saw the event name, the same soft font as on the program she kept at home. "This looks like Maya's week," she said quietly. The officer showed the round lid in the next bag. The tiny stars shone a little under the light. The mother touched the plastic and smiled a small, sad smile. "This is her charm lid," she said. "My mother gave her a music box when she was young. We kept the lid in a pouch after the music part stopped working. She always carried it, on important days." Lena nodded. "She had it at rehearsals," she said. "She would tap it once, like a tiny bell, and breathe." In the third bag sat the ribbons and the worn sweater. Lena recognized the ribbon shade. "We used this color for balance drills," she said. "We tie it lightly around the ankles, for awareness." The sweater had a little mend on one sleeve. The mother remembered sewing that mend one evening by the window line. Each piece felt like a whisper from a nearby room. Finally, the supervisor placed a fourth bag on the table. "This was in the bottom of the fabric bag," he said. Inside was a small pocket notebook, the kind artists use for quick sketches. The cover was simple. The mother asked if she and the officer could open it together. The supervisor agreed. The officer put on gloves and slid the notebook out of its bag, turning the pages slowly. The paper held a light pencil touch, neat and calm. The first sketches were of hands in dance positions, gentle lines showing curve and breath. The next sketches showed a riverside footbridge with slim railings and tall grasses. Another page showed a greenhouse with glass panels and vines along the edges. On one page, there was a smiley face drawn near a short line that looked like a bus route with 3 dots and a small arrow. Under the arrow, in tiny letters, it said, "To Greenhouse." On the back page, there was a single word, "Breathe." No one rushed to speak. The room held a thoughtful quiet. The officer looked at the mother. She looked back at him and then at Lena. "These are places she loves," the mother said. "The footbridge, the greenhouse, these pages look like calm." Lena added, "She might be telling us where to look, but also how to feel. Slow, simple, steady." The officer wrote the notebook details in his log. He took a photo of each page so the station could return the original after processing. He thanked Fareed and the supervisor for their careful attention. "Small things done kindly can open a door," he said. The worker team nodded. Fareed smiled a little and said, "I am glad the bag reached the right hands." From the station, the group drove to the old bus station area. The officer led the way. The back lot held 2 metal donation cages with drop slots. On one cage, a sign asked people to place clean items in tied bags. The officer studied the collection schedule, posted on a small board. It matched the route tag from the sorting station, a pickup 2 days earlier. The air smelled of dust and warm pavement. A small shop faced the lot. Its door was open and a bell chimed when the mother and officer stepped inside. The shop owner recognized the officer from earlier visits. He greeted them kindly and listened as they explained the new detail. When the officer described the fabric bag and the lanyard, the shop owner's eyes softened. "I think I saw a young woman place a neat bag in the drop slot last week," he said. "She wore a simple jacket and kept her head down, not in a sad way, just calm. She stood for a few seconds as if thinking, then slid the bag through. She left at a normal pace. I remember because I thought her posture looked like a dancer's, light on her feet." The mother swallowed and steadied her breath. "Could it have been late morning?" she asked. The shop owner thought and nodded. "Yes, the sun was high and soft. I was placing plants outside." The officer asked if there were any cameras. The shop owner had one small camera pointed at his door, not at the donation cages. He pulled up the footage and found the time. The video showed people walking in and out, the doorbell ringing, and plants moving in a breeze. In the corner, a figure passed by, visible only as a moving shape near the donation cages. The figure wore a simple jacket and had hair pulled up. The image was too distant for a face, but the light, careful movement matched the shop owner's memory. The officer saved the clip and thanked him. "Your memory helps," he said. "You noticed kindness in how she moved. That matters." Outside, the mother touched the donation cage with 2 fingers, lightly, as if greeting a friend. She did not try to force meaning from it. She let the simple action exist by itself. The officer spoke gently. "This suggests that the bag was placed here on purpose," he said. "The items were neat. The sketches point to places she drew before. It may be a way to say, 'I am safe. Keep looking in calm places.'" Lena nodded. "It feels like a message," she said. "Not a loud one, a quiet one." They decided on next steps. First, the officer would follow the notebook's path markers: the footbridge, the greenhouse, and the short bus line with 3 dots. He would also ask the city transit office to review any public camera views near the old bus station at the time, the shop owner recalled. Second, the mother and Lena would visit the riverside and the community garden in the afternoon, the time when light looked like the sketches. They would take nothing but a small bag, water, and patience. Third, the venue manager would ask volunteers to refresh the flyers one more time, adding a soft line at the bottom. "If you see a young woman teaching simple stretches or dance at community spaces, please share a note. Thank you." Before they left the area, Lena spotted a low wall painted with a child's drawing. It showed a bridge and a shape like a greenhouse. The drawing looked like a cousin of the one on the art show poster Maya had noticed the day she stepped out for air. Lena took a photo and showed it to the mother. "She watches for small art like this," Lena said. "She loves to echo it in her notebook." The mother smiled. "Maybe she is leaving art in our path, too," she said. They walked to the riverside after lunch. The footbridge was not large. It curved sweetly over the water, and long grasses leaned toward the current. A few people strolled across, speaking softly. The mother and Lena stopped at the center and looked down. Sunlight reached the stones. A pair of leaves drifted by, slow and bright. On the railing, someone had tied a short piece of ribbon, the same shade the studio used for balance drills. The knot was simple and neat. It could have been anyone's ribbon, yet it matched the quiet mood of the notebook. The mother touched the ribbon and imagined Maya's hands tying it with a small smile. She did not claim it as proof. She received it as a gentle hello. They crossed the bridge and followed the path to the community garden. The next morning began with a plan that felt both careful and kind. The officer called the mother and Lena and suggested 3 simple steps for the day. First, they would ride the short bus line that Maya had sketched with 3 dots in her notebook. They would get off at each dot-like stop and look around with quiet eyes. Second, they would visit the community garden again at the time the volunteer mentioned, when the young ballet teacher sometimes came. Third, they would stop by a nearby shelter that offered art and movement workshops, just to ask if anyone had seen a teacher who used a nickname and liked to help children breathe and stretch. None of these steps were loud. All of them were steady. On the bus, the mother sat by the window and held the notebook photo on her phone. She traced the 3 dots with her thumb, one by one. The bus hummed along smooth streets. People got on and off with small nods. Lena watched the stops and pressed the bell at the first one that matched a little drawing in the notebook. They stepped down and looked around. There was a small mural on the wall of a corner store, a bridge, a plant, and a tiny sun. It reminded the mother of Maya's gentle drawings. She took a photo and smiled. The officer marked the stop on his printed map and wrote a single word next to it: Echo. At the second dot, there was a narrow alley that opened into a small courtyard. A group of kids sat on low steps eating fruit and laughing softly. On a bulletin board, there was a simple flyer for Quiet Movement Hour at the shelter 2 blocks away. The time matched the garden volunteers' guess. Midweek, afternoons, not every week, only when the teacher was free. The flyer did not list a name. It just said, "All welcome. Breathe. Move. Be kind to your knees." Someone had drawn a small smiley face near the corner. The mother held her breath for a second and then let it go slowly, like she had taught herself in these months. "This looks like her tone," she said. The officer nodded and wrote "Courtyard Flyer, Smiley" on his notes. At the third dot, they could see the greenhouse roof from the bus stop. The glass caught the light like a calm lake. A small sign near the sidewalk pointed toward a shelter and a community garden entrance. The mother felt the 3 dots align. Inside her, like steps in a short dance. Stop 1, Echo, stop 2, Flyer, stop 3, Greenhouse. It was not proof. It was a rhythm. The officer took a photo of the sign and said, "Let's try the shelter first and introduce ourselves with care." The shelter door stood open to a welcoming room with light wood chairs, a potted fern, and a table with tea. A staff member looked up and smiled. The officer spoke gently. "We are helping a family," he said. "They are looking for their daughter, a dancer named Maya. We wondered if you have seen a ballet teacher who is kind and quiet and uses a nickname." The staff member's eyes softened at once. "Yes," she said. "A young woman has been coming sometimes to lead a simple movement hour for kids. She always asks for a small room, keeps the windows open a bit, and speaks in a low voice. She is careful with her words and never wants to be paid. She says she is grateful to have a peaceful place to give back." The mother stood very still. The staff member looked at her with respect. "We do not ask for full names if someone prefers privacy," the staff member added. "But she told us a nickname that sounded like Leah." The officer wrote that down and glanced at the mother. "And Lena." The mother smiled a little. "Leah could be short for many things," she said softly. "It could even be a small echo of leap." Lena folded her hands and held that thought with care. The staff member said the young teacher usually signed in on a small clipboard with only the nickname and the time. She used the same tidy handwriting every visit, round letters, calm spacing. The staff member showed them the clipboard. The last visit had been 2 days earlier. The word Leah sat on the sheet like a polite wave. Next to it was a tiny star, drawn in the margin. The mother pressed her lips together and breathed slowly. The star felt like a hello from a safe distance. "Would you be open to helping us reach her?" the officer asked. "We want to be gentle. We do not want to surprise her or make her feel trapped. We simply want to pass a message that her family is here, steady and kind." The staff member nodded. "That is a good way," she said. "We can leave a short note at the sign-in table in a sealed envelope, and I can send a quiet text to the number she used on her first day for emergency contact. She asked us not to share it broadly, and we will honor that, but I can say, a family wishes to meet in a calm space, with you in control of the time and the room." They wrote the note together at a small corner desk. The mother kept it simple. "Dear Maya," she wrote, "we have stayed steady, and we have learned to breathe. We believe you are safe. If you are ready, we would like to see you in a quiet room with kind people by your side. No questions right away. Only, hello, a hug if you wish, and your pace. We love you, Mom and L." She placed a small paper crane in the envelope as a sign of gentle hands. The staff member added a second note from the shelter. "You are respected here. You can choose the time and place. We will support a calm meeting." The officer looked at both notes and nodded. "This feels right," he said. They left the shelter and walked to the garden for the afternoon hour. The greenhouse was warm and bright. A handful of children were stretching near the open door, guided by a volunteer who was filling in for the day. "The usual teacher might come later," the volunteer said. "If she does, she will be quiet. You may not notice her until she is already helping, like a soft wind." The mother smiled. She knew that feel. Time passed in slow, soft shapes. The mother sat on a bench and watched the door. Lena walked the path around the greenhouse, pausing at each corner like she was counting dance beats. The officer stood back, not wanting to take up the moment with his uniform. In the far bed, a gardener trimmed mint and hummed a tune. The greenhouse. Glass showed the sky like a painting. It felt like a wide, clear breath held by everyone at once. They did not see the young teacher that day. It was a small disappointment, but it did not break the rhythm. Instead, the staff member from the shelter sent their gentle text in the evening. "Hello, Leah. We have a note that feels kind and simple. A family is ready to meet in a calm room with you in control. If you wish, reply with a time, and we will make a quiet space." The text was short. It did not push. It waited. 2 days went by. The mother kept her steady routine. She wrote updates in her notebook and took walks along the footbridge path. She placed one ribbon on the rail with a knot as neat as the first one they had found. She left it as a hello, not a demand. Lena taught class and ended with a quiet circle, asking her students to breathe and sit with hopeful hearts. The officer checked with the transit staff. A public camera had captured a figure placing a bag into a donation slot on the day the shop owner remembered. The figure's calm posture matched what they already knew. The officer added the clip to the file, not as an answer, but as a gentle line in the story. On the third evening, the shelter staff member called the mother with a voice that sounded like good news wrapped in calm. She replied, the staff member said. She said, "Thank you for your kindness. I am safe. I would like to meet in the small fern room on Friday at 4. Please keep it quiet. One staff member, the mother, and the coach. I need soft light and time to breathe." The mother leaned against the table for steady balance. She did not cry. She whispered, "Thank you," again and again, like counting slow steps. The staff member said they would set the room and place a sign that simply read, "Reserved." No one else would be told. The officer, respecting the request, promised to wait outside the building at a distance in case any help was needed. But he would not enter or interrupt. "This is her moment to choose," he said. Before Friday, there were 2 small complications that tested their patience, like little gusts against a steady flame. First, a well-meaning neighbor heard a version of the plan and told a few friends. The rumor grew a little as kind people tried to be helpful. The mother, with the staff member's support, gently asked those people to hold quiet and give space. They agreed at once when they understood the request for privacy. The second complication came from a different place. A local blogger asked to share the story of the landfill find and the shelter note. The mother thanked them and said, "Please wait. Let us make this small meeting without noise." The blogger respected the wish and said they would hold the story until the family gave a green light. The mother was thankful for this kindness. She wrote in her notebook, "Quiet is also a gift." On Friday, the shelter's fern room looked like a soft welcome. The staff had drawn the shades halfway, so the light came in like warm silk. The fern on the table stood tall and green. 3 chairs sat in a gentle triangle, one for the young teacher, one for the mother, one for Lena. A small box of tissues and a glass of water waited on the side. The staff member checked the clock, then took one deep breath and stepped into the hall to wait. The mother arrived 5 minutes early. Lena came with her. They sat in the small lobby and held hands for a moment. Neither spoke. They simply felt the quiet move through them like a calm river. The staff member squeezed their shoulders and said, "You are doing this well." The officer waited outside, leaning against a tree across the street, not looking at the door, just letting the city muffed the room to. The room held a soft quiet as the young woman lifted her eyes from the star-engraved lid to the mother's face. She took a slow breath, the kind that starts low in the belly and rises like a gentle tide. "I am sorry for the worry," she said, in a voice that was clear but small. "I did not plan to stay away for so long. On the competition day, the noise in my head grew loud, and I could not hear my own breath. I stepped out to make it quiet again. When my phone died, shame took the place of sound. I kept telling myself I would come back when I felt ready, and every day I thought, not yet. I need one more day to become steady." Then one day became many. The mother listened without a single interruption. She sat with her hands open on her knees as if she were holding the air between them. "Thank you for your honesty," she said. "You owe us nothing except your truth. We are here for it." Lena nodded and kept her gaze kind. The young woman, Maya, though she had been using the nickname, looked down at the fern. "I found this shelter by accident," she continued. "I walked by on a day when my thoughts felt heavy. Someone had left the door propped open. I saw a class where people were moving slowly, arms like branches. I stood at the doorway and matched my breath to the room. The staff invited me in without asking questions. After that, I kept coming back." She spoke of small, good things. She said a gardener had shown her how to rub mint between her fingers and breathe in the scent. She said the greenhouse glass made light feel like water. She said teaching gentle movement to children had reminded her why she loved dance, not for scores or judges, but for the way the body and music could hold a person in a kind rhythm. "I did not want to make a big return," she said softly. "Big returns can break. I wanted a small hello. I wanted to leave a neat bag with clues that felt like my voice. Ribbons, a sweater, the lid with stars, the notebook drawings. I placed it where someone kind might find it, and then I waited to see if the world would reply with the same softness." The mother smiled, tears bright but calm. "The world did reply," she said. "A worker named Farid noticed your care and passed it along with his own care. The officer, your coach, the manager, the shop owner, the shelter, the garden, all of them moved like a chain of gentle hands." Maya nodded. "I hoped for that. I am grateful." She paused, then added, "I also chose the name Leah because it felt like a whisper of leap, not jumping far, just trusting the air under a tiny step." Lena leaned forward a little. "Would it help to set gentle steps now?" she asked. "Steps you choose." Maya considered this. "Yes," she said. "I would like to see my brother first at home, but with the counselor here or someone like them nearby, just in case I need a quiet corner. I would like to walk. The footbridge with you both, and then the greenhouse and leave one more ribbon. I would like to visit the studio one day soon, not to dance full out, just to sit and remember the feeling of the floor with no pressure. The mother nodded at each point. We can do exactly that, she said, all at your pace. They spoke about practical things, too. Maya would need a new phone, and the mother could help set it up with simple boundaries. A quiet mode at night, notifications that did not pull her away from herself, and a small playlist of songs that felt like rest. School would be contacted with a short note that respected her privacy. The officer waiting outside would not come in. The staff member would walk out later and give him a simple thumbs up to say that a calm plan was in place. There would be no surprise visits, no calls from people who wanted the story right now. We can write a note to the blogger together, the mother suggested, thanking them and asking them to wait until you are ready. Maya agreed. And if we do tell it one day, she added, we will tell it as a series of kind steps, not as a loud event. They rested for a moment. The fern leaves made new shadows on the table as the light shifted. Then Maya asked something unexpected and simple. Can we hold the lid together? She said. The mother smiled. Yes. She opened the clear bag and placed the little round lid with stars in her palm. Maya placed her hand over it. Lena placed her hand beside theirs, not touching the lid, just the edge of the mother's hand, so the three hands made a small circle. They stayed like that for 3 quiet breaths. No one hurried to break the circle. When they lifted their hands, the room felt lighter, as if air had been invited in. They chose a time for the first small walk, late afternoon, when the footbridge looked most like the sketch in the notebook. They agreed to meet at the shelter door so the start would feel familiar and safe. They thanked the staff member and stepped outside into the gentle day. The officer across the street lifted his eyes, saw the calm faces, and gave a small nod without moving from his spot. The mother's glance returned that nod. All well. At the footbridge, the air was clear and mild. The grasses leaned with the lightest wind. Maya stood in the middle and looked down at the water. I drew this many times, she said. It helped me practice breathing. The way the river does not hurry. She took a neat piece of ribbon from her pocket, knotted it on the rail, and smoothed the ends. This is not a sign for crowds, she said, touching the knot. It is a note to myself. It says, you can come back to this moment whenever you need. Lena smiled and whispered, good. The mother traced the ribbon with one finger and did not add words. The silence knew how to hold itself. From there they walked to the greenhouse. A few children waved to Maya, and she waved back, small and shy. The volunteer at the gate understood the day without being told. They offered a warm smile and then looked away, giving privacy. Inside the glass, plants stood like patient friends. Maya touched the mint as the gardener had taught her and breathed in the fresh scent. This is my metronome now, she said. Mint in, slow out. The mother took the gardener's hand a moment and said, thank you for caring for this place that cared for her. The gardener's eyes shone. We just kept the door open, they said. She did the rest. That evening, the little brother ran to the front door as soon as it opened. He had drawn a sun next to a bridge, and he held it like a gift. Maya bent down and opened her arms, but she let him decide the distance. He leaped the last 2 steps and hugged her with a happy sound that filled the house like music. She laughed softly and sat on the rug with him. I saw your suns on the fridge, she said. They are stronger than any alarm. He pointed to the note that still said, hold steady. It worked, he said. We held steady. Maya nodded. We did. In the days that followed, they made careful choices. The mother and Lena met with the competition organizers and shared simple suggestions, many of which the organizers had already begun to consider after the first months. Together, they agreed to add restrooms, where dancers could sit quietly, breathing corners with simple instructions, and short open studio times without scores or eyes on them, just music and floor. They wrote a brief guideline for coaches and parents called Dance the Music, Not the Steps, with notes on gentle language, short check-ins, and early signs of overwhelm. They kept the document short and clear. It was not a rule book, it was a soft map. They also returned to the sorting station to say thank you. Farid and the supervisor met them by the table where the bag had first been opened. The mother brought a small box of cookies. Maya handed Farid a hand-drawn card with a tiny bridge, a greenhouse, and 3 dots that led to a smiley face. "Your careful eyes helped us," she said. Farid smiled the way a person smiles when a quiet hope arrives. "You helped us too," he replied. "You reminded us that small kindness is not small at all." The supervisor nodded. "We will keep a gentle eye out for bags like yours," he said, "and we will keep the chain of care unbroken." When the blogger finally wrote about the story, it was weeks later, with Maya's permission and in her words. The headline did not shout. It read, "A family follows gentle clues." The piece was about breath, community, and small systems that make big pressure softer. It described the ribbon on the bridge, the mint in the greenhouse, the fern room, the quiet bus line with 3 dots, and the way a city can learn to listen for calm hellos instead of only loud alarms. The comments filled with simple kindness. "Thank you for sharing. This helps my family. Our school is adding a breathing corner." Maya began a small program at the shelter and the garden called Dance to Breathe. It was not a formal class. It was a standing invitation. Once a week, anyone could come and learn 3 simple movements, 3 simple breaths, and 1 gentle way to speak to themselves when the air felt thin. She taught with soft hands and clear eyes. She often closed each session by placing the star-engraved lid on the floor between everyone and saying, "Leap does not mean far. It means trust." People would nod and walk away quieter than they had arrived. On a Sunday afternoon, she visited the studio. The lights were low. The room smelled faintly of rosin and wood. She stood at the edge of the floor and placed her bare feet on the smooth surface. She did not rush into turns or leaps. She lifted her arms and let them settle like feathers. She stepped forward once, then back, then turned in a small circle, feeling the weight and the balance she had once chased. Lena watched from a bench and did not speak. When Maya stopped, she smiled. "I remember," she said. "I remember the part that belongs to me." The last again, months later, on a day when the sky looked,